I realized that all those concessions and all those freebies, they were expected because that's what I was selling to a client. That was my value add. That's why they were hiring me. It wasn't because, hey, he's more money and he's doing all of these things. It was because he's the same amount and he's doing all of these things. So the fact that they got, A, B, and C for no additional cost, that was the value. And that was what I sold to them. It was differentiation at the same price, which is not the right move. What's up, y'all? How's it going? It is a busy, heavy office week for me. I'm still trying to play catch up from getting home from vacation. Catching up with emails, catching up with Modern Craftsman, catching up with Contractors Coalition Summit, catching up with coursework for Modern Craftsman. We have school started. Sports are crazy right now. I have an enduro club event, a race coming up that we're prepping for. So it's just crazy. I feel like I can't even work. Hopefully the rest of you guys and girls, men and women, are hanging in there. I'm sure that if you were of the age where you have a family and kids, this is a crazy time of year. And it does provide a little bit of insight to me as to what my parents were going through at the beginning of the year. I was one of 5. My siblings are all very close in age. So my mom had 5 kids at one point under 6 years old. So as excited as she was to get us out of the house at the end of summer, I'm sure that getting us into school and schedules and sports and athletics was extremely chaotic and extremely crazy. May have been simpler times at that point. It seemed that we played one sport a season, and that sport lived in its appropriate season and did not carry over to every other season. I don't know about you guys, but our kids' athletics now, and my kids play sports. Selby and Tilly both play travel softball. Selby plays volleyball, which is essentially travel because they don't have a rec program where it's a club team. Rec sports aren't. I feel like they don't. Maybe they do. I don't know. I can't speak to that. Our rec softball program wasn't very strong. I think that the rec baseball program in our town might be a little bit different, but it's like, regardless, when we played sports growing up, even if you played on a club team or a travel team, you had your season for the sport and maybe you had some training that you did on your own, but you did not play that sport all year round until you got to a point where it's like, hey, I'm in middle school, I'm going into high school, this is my only sport, I'm going to do it year round. And that was somewhat resolved or reserved for like the high level athletes in that sport. It's at, from 8 years old at this point, my kids are playing softball year round. It's fall ball, spring ball, which is normal season for softball, and then it's winter training, and then they have summer training. So it's literally playing softball year round. And then Selby's now playing volleyball, which is interfering with her fall softball, which isn't even the season for softball. So I don't think it was like that when we were growing up. Also, we were pretty much just required to get to practice however the hell we had to get to practice. I remember riding my bicycle with full football pads on to football practice when I was in like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade prior to high school, which was all the way on the other side of town. Obviously, a lot of times at nighttime, and then riding home with full pads on. I mean, you didn't have to wear a bike helmet. You just rock your football helmet, but it's not like that anymore. We have to drive our kids everywhere and stay at practice. So it's tough. Again, so school, sports, business, work, podcast things, Contractor Coalition Summit. I'm traveling a bunch for work in the upcoming months. It's just been chaotic and I can't catch up. It's insane. But I guess I'd rather that than be sitting here twiddling my thumbs, wondering what to do with my time. Maybe a little bit more free time or a little bit more time to take care of myself would be nice, but it comes in waves. It's just busy right now. So I hope that all of you, if you're in the thick of it and you're experiencing what I am, that you keep your head up and continue to trudge through it, because it's not always this difficult. It does get easier. Some days are harder than others, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel, even though sometimes it may not be so easy to see. First, so this podcast, this blog post, it's going to be all over the place. I have a few things that I want to discuss with so I guess I have an agenda, but it's not just a single agenda. So I have a handful of things I want to speak about, but pretty loose. I don't have one topic that I'm going to cover and dive into and really focus this time with you guys today. So saddle up, buckle in. Here we go. First off, micro podcasts. What do y'all think? That was pretty cool, right? That's been a long time coming, and I cannot take all the credit. Nick cannot take all the credit. A lot of people came together to make that happen. Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, Mike. And then thanks to all of our listeners, because it's been years that we've been trying to get Mike Rowe on. I know a lot of listeners have reached out, emailed him, sent him Instagram messages, tried to pass the word along to get him on the podcast, and we finally made it happen. So I hope that all of you enjoyed that. Would love to know what you think about that. If we had another opportunity to get Mike on, what you would want to hear more from about him. Obviously, I spent some time digging into his background a little bit more as we realized we were going to get him on. Just an interesting guy, interesting background. If you haven't listened to it, hop on Spotify, whatever other platform you listen to your podcast, and you'll be able to listen to that interview. He's a professional. Really great insight. He is a champion for the industry, a champion for the trades, and he does a lot of work to give back and help promote the trades in the younger generation and making a successful and viable career path moving through the trade. So definitely appreciate all that he has done for the trades. It was really neat to learn about his background. What was the catalyst for him doing what he's doing, his success later in life, and what created him to follow the path that he did, and how he ended up where he was, or where he did end up. Really neat story, and it's inspiring to see how it came to be and how long it took for him to really find his calling, and who motivated him to follow that path. But I hope you all enjoyed that. I'd love to hear your feedback on that. Again, spread the word on that as well. I'd love to get the experience and the conversation that we had with Mike out to as many people as possible, because I know that it's an important one. I had a few people reach out to me and just tell me how how great the conversation was and how inspiring it was for them, and really helped serve as that kick in the ass that they needed to go and find something that was more engaging or more intriguing or more challenging for them, to move ahead in their career. So doing great things, helping the cause, really excited about that conversation. And I hope that you all enjoyed it as much as we did. Also, who just couldn't listen to Mike Rowe talk about anything? I could have him read, children's books, and I would sit there fully engaged. He just does such a great job narrating, speaking. A really great guy to listen to talk, listen to his podcast, to listen to interviews, TED Talks that he's done. I found myself on a huge Mike Rowe kick leading up to that conversation, that podcast, and I still am stuck on that. And there's a lot of Mike Rowe stuff coming up in my algorithm right now. Next thing I wanted to discuss is the Contractors Coalition Summit. So you guys should have heard by now. If you haven't, peel that rock off from on top of you. But I have joined Morgan from Construction to Style. You should know Morgan and Jamie. Brad from AFT Construction, and my co-host on the main Modern Craftsman podcast, Nick. with this Contractors Coalition Summit. So the idea with this summit is to get maybe 2 dozen contractors, builders, remodelers, renovators together in a city throughout the country, and then teach as much as we can within 2.5 days to these people. So, free access to our numbers, our books, our systems, and get this group of people together in a really nice setting, a nice city, a nice hotel. Go out to some nice dinners. Um, Hopefully, get you come to a city that's close to you, that the travel isn't crazy, but at the same time, like, we do suggest that people stay at the hotel so you're not going back to work. You're really devoting the time to this event. So the one that I attended was in Minnesota. So there's a lot of people coming from the suburbs of Minnesota, but then they're getting a hotel room, they're staying in the hotel, and they're spending 2.5 3 days. And we have the Minnesota event. We had a live podcast. We had a happy hour after the live podcast. We had live music. We had food. So that was a night out. Saturday and Sunday was all teaching. So it was full days of teaching our systems, what we use for business, whether it's marketing, social media marketing, if it's invoicing. Um, a lot of people, we've given out the labor burden calculator, how to actually calculate that labor burden, everything with regards to business and what people have wanted insight on as far as business. And then we have myself there, Nick, Brad, and Morgan. So you're able to get a peek into what everyone's business looks like and take what you need from that. So it's not just a remodeler's perspective. It's not just a new construction builder's perspective. It kind of runs the gamut and gives you insight to each market, each different type of business, and what works for you. We also have guest speakers there, so they could be speaking to business insurance, marketing. We have vendors there. So we have a ton of vendors sponsoring the events. They'll come and they'll speak to you about their products. They'll get you set up within their systems to get a discount on many of their products, how you can pitch their products as an upsell, how you can work with them, possibly get marketing dollars from them. So a ton of opportunity there to, one, meet other people, possibly in your area or within the country, um, to discuss business ideas, to learn from the four of us. It's pretty open forum, and it's a really small, intimate amount of people. So if you have a question in the middle of the event, you can ask a question. You don't have to be afraid that somebody's going to judge you. You've spent a few days with the people at this point, so you've gotten to know everyone. There's not really any ego there. Everyone's there to better themselves and to learn, and to really elevate this industry. So for me, obviously, there was a ton of information. Um, you can take the deliverables and the experience and the teaching, um, the curriculum as a takeaway. Event pays for itself. You're going to make 5 times that over the first year. You can walk away with the relationships with the new contractors, builders, the presenters, where you can use as a sounding board. Event paid for itself. The new relationships with all of these vendors helps pay for the event. But for me, the biggest takeaway was just how inspired I was leaving the event. Being in the industry 14 years at this point, I'm not going to work and packing up and that's where I leave it, right? I have the podcast. I'm presenting, I'm teaching, I'm working with vendors and companies to create content for them. I'm heavily involved with this industry. And I feel like I've lived 6 lifetimes worth of construction, and you can get burnt out to that. It can become uninspiring. You can lose the spark within the industry. The rose has lost its bloom. But being there and being around so many like-minded people, you forget how passionate this industry, how exciting this industry can be, how great the people are within this. So the takeaway for me was just leaving there feeling completely reinvigorated, completely re-inspired to continue to push to better this industry, to give back to everyone. to record more podcasts, to get out and teach more, to travel more, all these things to give back to everyone who is investing in us, investing in themselves. That was the biggest takeaway for me, is just I felt that same feeling as when I first went into business for myself, and the excitement and just that like hunger and thirst for knowledge. Um, I feel like was reignited for me. So that was really inspiring, really exciting, and has motivated me to really hop back into this with a new mindset and a new positive mentality, rather than just feeling overwhelmed. And like I've lived 6 lifetimes in the construction industry. So if you are interested in attending this event, head to contractorscoalitionsummit.com. I also have the links in the blog post if you're on the website. Um, Also, IBS is coming up. We're going to be at IBS. Nick and I will be doing some teaching at IBS. We'll also be there attending. If you want to attend a happy hour for the Contractors Coalition Summit, which is February 24th, 2025, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Fontainebleau. I forget how they told us how to pronounce that. I'm pretty sure it's Fontainebleau. Um, Somebody told me. I might be botching that. Um, it's the Nowhere Lounge. We had a happy hour last year. It was sold out. Micro actually was at that event. No, sorry, that was a different event. I take that back. Um, I was not at the happy hour event because I was walking along the Las Vegas Strip, because it said it was only like a mile and a half to get from one place to another. And I didn't realize that they carted you in and out of buildings, over pedestrian walkways, traffic lights, police officers. And it took me like 2 hours to walk from one thing to another. So by the time I got to the event I was supposed to, I was way late. I was not able to get back to the happy hour, so I missed it. But I'll be at this year's event. So if you want to sign up for that, you can go to the Contractors Coalition Summit website, look up events. I also have a link to the Event Create website, which you can sign up for it on the blog post. But again, it's February 24th, 2025, 6 to 8 p.m. at Fontainebleau. Really great event. Again, if you're looking at tickets for IBS, that did sell out last year, so check that out. I guess everyone will probably start purchasing their IBS tickets sooner than later. I'm pretty sure they'll start going on sale now. So reach out to me if you are going to IBS, if you're going to be there, what you're looking forward to see. And then I can also figure out what else our schedule looks like, and hopefully connect with some listeners like we did last year. Um, Give me 1 second here. All right. Another topic that I wanted to go over. I was going back and forth via email with somebody. I had a couple of consulting calls with, um, and in their email, they were they were struggling with just feeling burnt out, and feeling as though the market that they were in, how they positioned themselves, has just created this unsustainable business approach where they are at the mercy of their customers. Um, Essentially, their clients are they're dictating their profitability, how much time they're spending on each project, and they're somewhat at the mercy of the market, right? That they're having to go out and they're having to bid every project, and they're not landing the projects, they're not getting the project, they're having to concede to certain um they're having to concede to a customer's program, um to things within, what's important to the customer that may not necessarily be important to them. Um, so essentially, what's happening is they're getting leads. They're not necessarily vetting their leads correctly. And then when a customer comes to them and say, "Hey, this is our project. This is what we want to do," they're finding how they can fit into that program. Um, And so what's ending up happening is they're giving away a lot of time for free. They're conceding a lot of work for free. Just it's because of the industry, it's because of the competitive bidding, it's because of their market, but a lot of it is just because they're not positioning themselves in from really in the right area. So what I wrote to them, and there was one line within the email that, as I look back, so I'll draft an email and I go back and make sure it all makes sense. And I said, your value should not be dictated by concessions or freebies. Um, and it reminded me of how much I did of that early on when I was first in business. That was how I provided value. It was, I'm going to overbuild. I'm going to, it's going to be me on the job. I'm going to handle everything. I'm going to help pick out your fixtures with you. I'm going to help pick out your tile. All of these things I didn't get paid for. And I had the right idea in mind, right? I was looking to differentiate myself. So I was looking to provide a higher quality than other people. I was looking to provide this turnkey service. I was looking to help aid in design and picking finishes. Obviously, I was pricing their projects for free, but the sell was the differentiation, right? So when they're getting three prices, my numbers had to fit within their program, but also they were choosing me because I was differentiating myself. The problem was that I wasn't actually getting anything more for my differentiation and for the extra time and the concessions and the freebies. I was just using that as a way to land the project. Um, so when I realized that, like, yeah, all of this differentiation, all of this marketing that I've been doing over the years to prove how I'm different, all that was serving me in order to land the project, but I wasn't landing the project for more. I wasn't using it to vet my customers. I wasn't using it to ensuring I was landing an ideal client. I was using it just to land the job. So I was using it to be the person who was picked because I was giving more away or I was providing more for the same price. Um, and I realized it took a long time to realize, but like it wasn't sustainable. I was spending too much time. I was spending too much money. My profit margins were too small. A lot of times it was costing me money. I was paying out and I was so underwater that I thought, it was add more employees, take on bigger projects. And I realized that at the end of the day, the entire preface for my business, the entire structure, I had I had the right ideas. I understood what I should be doing, but I was not implementing it properly. I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. I wasn't using it um, in an effective manner. So when I started putting those puzzle pieces together and started, understanding how all of this works a little bit more, I realized that all those concessions and all those freebies, they were expected because that's what I was selling to a client. That was my value add. That's why they were hiring me. It wasn't because hey, he's more money and he's doing all of these things. It was because he's the same amount and he's doing all of these things. Um, so the fact that they got, A, B, and C for no additional cost, that was the value. And that was what I sold to them. It was differentiation at the same price, which is not the right move. If you're doing something different, if you're doing something more, it shouldn't be just to land that job. And I think that we're all guilty of this, right? Life is give and take. Business is give and take. It all can't just be, hey, this is an add-on, this is an add-on, this is more, we're more expensive, charge more. It can't be that way. It needs to be give and take. Um, but it can't be give all the time. And give can't be the reason why you're landing the job. So I like to obviously integrate something from a consulting call or a client email or interaction that I've had over the course of the last week on these podcasts, on these blog posts, because I feel that there's so many people that I speak with have the same struggles, are going through the same thing. And I like to be able to integrate some of the lessons that I'm learning, I'm learning while serving these clients and these consulting calls. I like to turn that into a blog post or a podcast and speak to some of that. So that's what I am doing here. That was my somewhat profound um, line within the email this week. When I wrote that, I was like, man, that really speaks to me and makes so much sense and is like so profound yet so simple. Again, your value should not be dictated by concessions or freebies. That's not the angle that you want. Um, it can be those extras, it can be the add-ons, but it can't be for free and it can't be a concession all the time. That can't be the sales pitch. So that was my big takeaway this week. But if you do want to schedule a consulting call, if you want to hop on a call with me, if you have something that you're struggling with, if you are a small owner operator type business, you have a few employees and you're really finding it difficult um, to be profitable, right? Where you're getting to the end of the job and you have subs coming in and you're paying employees to button out a job and it's all these extra hours and you are struggling to find the money and where it went and how you're going to pay these people or right, like I just landed $150,000 job. I should be good for a certain amount of months, and you get into that job and everything's going great until it starts winding down and you're like, wait, I don't have any money left to pay everyone. I still have to pay all my employees. We're not done the project. I have to pay the subs. And you're just struggling with that, or you're struggling with the competitive market, if you're struggling with your marketing, with understanding how to identify the client, how to identify your customer, how to differentiate any of those things, as a small owner operator, a small construction business, I've been enjoying championing this side of the industry and just truly owning what it's like to be an owner operator. And any way that I can help you guys or girls, anything that you've been struggling with. I've spoken to people about work life balance, which is something that's really, really important to me. Again, I just told you guys last week that I took my first vacation where I really feel that I turned it off. I did nothing work related. And it felt really, really great, but it took a while to get there and to figure out how to do that. So, if you guys are interested in speaking about any of that, shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. Again, I'm just looking to help you. I struggled for a really long time and it was really difficult. And there were days that I didn't want to be doing this. And there were days that I didn't want to get out of bed and that I didn't understand how to make this all work. And a lot of times, uh, I probably should have reached out for help, looked to not try and get through this alone, and really just put some systems and processes into place sooner than I did. But I wasn't aware of what was going on. I didn't think that things could change. I thought that I had it set up the best that it could be, and I was doing something else wrong. The fact of the matter is, there's a lot of things that I could have changed, and a lot of ways that I could have been doing things a lot differently that would have created a lot more peace and financial stability in my life. Again, so tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. The last thing I want to talk about today, um, if you guys and girls have looked into the free labor burden calculator or the free pre-construction services agreement on the website. So if you go onto the website and there's an extra tab, you can hop on that and download those forms. I know that some people had asked like how to go through that calculator. Nick and I are going to be putting out more content with regards to how to use these things with the pre-construction, how to use that, how to implement that into your business. But this is the first part of that. Also, if you haven't signed up for our email list, do that. You guys have probably seen at this point where we're starting to pump out emails where it's like, hey, this is who's on the podcast this week. Here are some of the main topics that we cover. Here are the takeaways. Here are guests that we have coming up. Here are events. So it's just keeping you in the loop as to all things Modern Craftsman. So you kind of know what's going on, if we have any new merch drops, if we're going to be somewhere, if there's an event that we are going to be at, if we have a great guest, what the conversation looks like, any news, if we're putting out any additional content, any courses, any free templates. So hop on the website and keep your eyes peeled. Nick and I have been working a lot on the back end of Modern Craftsman website. Some really cool stuff that we're going to be putting out there. And again, at the end of the day, there's just been so many struggles that we've had and that Nick and I have faced, and people that have struggled with similar things that we've spoken to. And we're like, how can we consolidate all of this information? How can we put this together in a manner that is really, really useful and resourceful to our listeners, where they can basically plug and play. They can educate themselves. They can learn from our mistakes. And so Nick and I have been working to create a bunch of information, a bunch of documents, and just resources for you guys to use to be able to better yourselves, to better your business, to be able to make what you're doing more profitable, and really just refine your systems. I know that we talk a lot about it on the podcast. I talk about it on my midweek. We talk about it when we have guests on, but we've never actually put it down on paper as like, hey, this is what we spoke about. This is what we can use. Even with consulting calls, people call, we have a conversation. It doesn't always include, hey, put this into place, implement this, here's a template of that. So while I feel that the consulting calls are so beneficial for people, just for insight perspective, to be able to run through things that you believe in your head are right, but saying them out loud to somebody else's might prove otherwise. The being able to use what Nick and I are putting in place is going to be like actual data, um, actual curriculum, and resources for you to use more so than just listening to a podcast. It's going to be tools that you'll have at your disposal, that will make you certainly more profitable, certainly more successful. And we're really excited. It's a lot of work. It's been a lot of work on the back end. And so if you see anything like that, keep your eyes peeled, sign up for it, register for it, spread the word, help us. You always ask how you can help, how you can support the podcast. This is the podcast is put out there for free. Everyone gets to listen to it for free. Um, it's all funded by ourselves, by our sponsors, by our partnership, by all the work that we're doing. Um, but we don't charge anyone for it. So if you're looking for a way to give back, if you're looking to help us out, spread the word about what we're doing. Um, Repost the links, share, these free templates that we're putting out. Make sure that everyone knows to sign up for the email list. That's going to be really, really important for us moving forward. Check out the Contractors Coalition Summit. Check out the website, and that's one way that you can very easily help pay us back for the time that we have invested in this platform. That's going to wrap it up for me here this week. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Again, don't forget to listen to that Mike Rowe podcast. If you have any questions, you want to hop on a call with me, shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. We have a bunch more content coming out, continuing to record. We have a few more really great guests coming up that we're excited about this summer. So keep your eyes peeled, and I will talk to all of you next week. Adios.